Let me welcome you all to the Edge4Vets Hone Your Edge session. My name is Tom Murphy, and I'm the director of the Human Resiliency Institute at Fordham. And we have a wonderful group today with veterans and some of the folks who've been serving as mentors. Let me say that we've got some folks who have completed their plan for success, some who are still working on it, and possibly some new folks who've joined us today who have not yet begun their plan for success. We're going to talk about the plan today. And at any stage that you're at, if you want to reach out to me, do so at tom@edge4vets.org. I'll post that as we go along. And if you did not get your copy of the workbook by any chance, send us an email and we'll make sure that you get it. If you have your copy and you're following along with your plan for success, pull it out today and we're going to be talking to that. So it's my pleasure to welcome you all. And it's my pleasure also to welcome a featured speaker for Hone Your Edge. This is a special session we're doing as a follow-up to the regular workshop series to give folks a chance to take everything that they learned during the Edge4Vets workshop series, and as we say, hone your edge, refine it, finalize your plan, etc., and then get some tips on how you can put that into action to succeed in an interview and therefore increase your edge to get hired. And like I say, we've got a special guest with us today, featured guest. Pamela Weinberg is a nationally renowned career coach. We sent you all a link to the Today Show episode she did with Al Roker, where a group of women were returning to the workforce. And in that Today Show session, Pamela provided them with coaching. Well, she's going to do that for us today and show vets how to take their values and skills from the plan for success that they've been developing and hone that so that they can succeed in an interview. And it's my pleasure just to give Pamela a chance to say hello, and she'll come back later in the program and participate with us in the coaching. But Pamela, if you'd like to say hello.
Sure. Thanks so much, Tom. And I'm so excited to be here today, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the hour. And I'm really looking forward to talking a bit about branding and how to take your fabulous, all the fabulous work that you've done with Tom and take it out onto the marketplace and really brand yourselves for success, for career success with all of the amazing skills and values you've learned in the military. So I'm really, really excited to be here and work with you today. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks, Pamela. And like I say, Pamela is going to be our featured speaker today. My role is to tee it up for her. And along those lines, as Pamela says, our goal is to give you a chance to take everything that you learned in Edge4Vets and really, as she says, brand yourself around that so that you can gain that edge to get hired. So let me just sort of pull together, as Pamela says, everything that we talked about in Edge4Vets. You see the goal right up there is clarity. Our goal with Edge4Vets, obviously is to help you get a job that can be a platform to a career and then give you the life that you want. And along that road, we say clarity because what we seek to do is to help you take the enormous, unique strengths that you have from the military and translate those values and skills into tools for a career. And then we connect you to the decision makers at our partner companies. So as you see there, prep and connect, that's really what Edge4Vets comes down to. We do the preparation through the Edge4Vets workshop series to help you translate your strengths. We give you this workbook so that you can use that in the online course that we give you to do that translation process. And then we connect you to the decision makers. And the final point there, and you see at the bottom of the page, is today we're going to help you take everything that you developed for yourself in terms of translating your transferable skills. And we're going to give you a chance to put those into action today with support from Pamela to, as we call it, hone your edge. take those values and skills that you developed and really be able to express them in a powerful way so that you can succeed in an interview. And saying that, in summary, the 4 elements, the 4 in Edge4Vets means something. And it's the 4 statements that you create during the online course to create your plan for success. And those 4 parts in your plan for success are a vision statement that articulates the kind of work you want to do for the career and the life that you want. And again, on the online course, we give you videos and exercises. You just follow that right through. Some of you, have completed your plan for success, this whole process. Some of you are still in the middle of it, and maybe others haven't begun it yet. And for those who haven't begun it yet, we'll have, contact information for you to reach out to us, and we'll get you started. But those 2 boxes in the middle really are the core of what you can bring to companies and what can make you attractive to them and give you the edge to get hired. And those are what we call your leadership strengths, which we break down into 2 parts: the values that you developed in the military and the skills that you developed. And the online course allows you to go through that process to identify, no matter what branch you're in, what were the values that branch inculcated that you then adopted to you, and they become your foundation for everything that you did in the military. But now they're the foundation also for everything you do in your life after the military. And that's why companies want you, because you have values that you can bring to them. But the key is you have to be able to articulate what they are in regular civilian terms. And that's what Pamela's going to be talking about today, as when she talks about branding you around a strength. The first element in that strength, your asset base, are the values. The second element are the skills that you developed in the military. And, all of this we talked about in Edge4Vets. And then you took the online course where you had a chance to go through, watch videos, do exercises, to take the duties that you had and express in your own words what you got good at carrying them out, which really becomes the articulation of your skill set. Well, today in the Hone Your Edge session, what we're going to do is give you a chance to really think through those values and skills and how you can put them into action to perform at a high level and help the company succeed. And you're going to hear the term branding from Pamela today. Well, that's really what it's about, how your values and skills give you a unique asset, but the action statement that you're going to create shows how you're going to put those into action and therefore make you distinctive, thus brand you. And again, you'll hear from Pamela in a moment on that. But just as far as, setting the stage for her, I want to, go through the plan for success process, highlight it. And there you see a vet, Jonah, who completed his plan for success. And again, this is what we gave you during the workshop series, so you could take notes as we did the lessons, through the workshop. And then in the online course, you had a chance to watch the videos and take your notes from the workshop and type them into the spaces and then hit submit, and out came 4 clean, well-articulated statements in those areas. And again, you see Jonah, who therefore got an edge. And Pamela's going to talk today about how you can take your values and skills and brand yourself around them. But to tee it up for her, let me just highlight what branding is before Pamela goes into detail. It's a way to identify your military values and skills and explore how they can make you unique or, brand you. And if you think of it that way, that's really going to be, something that you can take into an interview and give you the self-confidence to be able to talk about your values and skills in a way that the interviewer can also see you as the unique person that we know you are. So you're going to talk about how you can use them. That's your action statement. Use your values and skills to perform at a high level. And, this is the important piece, help the company succeed. So it's not enough just to have them and be able to know you have them and be able to perform at a high level with them. You got to be able to go into that interview and tell the interviewer how you can use them That's the action piece. And so to tee it up, what I'm going to do is give you a short video, and then we're going to hear from Pamela. There is no happiness without action, said William James. And the same is true when searching for a job. There can be no success without action. In this video, we'll show you how to pull everything together, including your values and skills, to create an action statement. Action is the payoff for the time you've invested in the translation process. Action is your ace of spades. Let's recap. In step one, you created a strong vision statement, which identifies the work you want to do for the career and the life that you want. Your vision statement is your ace of hearts. It reflects your passion. Next, you created an ace of diamonds, your value statement, to show companies that you have the values they are seeking. Then you created a skills statement, your ace of clubs. In combination, your values and skills reflect your leadership strengths and form an unbeatable asset, one that can set you apart in a job interview. But to seal the deal, to add an ace of spades, you need an action plan. Here's how to create a strong action statement. Print out your values and skills statements. Set them side by side and tell how you plan to combine your military values and skills to perform at a high level in whatever work you choose. That's action. You don't have to know who your employer is going to be at this point. You just have to know how you can apply your values and skills to perform at your peak. Your action statement is your ace of spades because that's what interviewers want to hear from you. They want you to tell them how you will use your asset, your military values and skills to excel at the work that you choose. Again, let's go to the circle for success. Your values and skills are your leadership strengths. They combine to give you a powerful asset. Your action statement communicates how you plan to put those values and skills into action, which in turn will put you on a path to achieving your vision. As we said earlier, you may well change your vision statement by the end of this process. You may well give it more definition before you submit it to us, but that's a good thing. Determining what you want in life, not what you think you want or what somebody may want for you, that's a lifelong process. The goal of Edge4Vets is to get you jump-started. And once you go through this strengths translation process, once you finalize and submit your plan for success, you'll be holding all the cards. In this case, 4 aces to gain an edge in the jobs marketplace. That's the purpose of Edge4Vets, to give you a winning hand to land the job you want, for the career you want, most of all for the life that you want. The work pages that follow will guide you through the process of finalizing your 4 statements and submitting your plan for success to earn your Edge4Vets certificate. Then you'll see a section called What Lies Ahead, including we invite you to our Connect workshop. There you'll meet HR reps from our partner companies who will help you take your plan for success and explore job opportunities to match your skills and interests. So thank you for working with us to translate your military strengths and put them into a plan for success for the civilian workplace. As we said at the beginning, you've served the country. Now that you have the need, it's time we do for you. Good luck. We look forward to reading your plan for success and helping you make job connections that can open the world for you. Okay, so that video is in the online course. And first of all, everybody who enrolled with us in this cohort got a copy of the workbook so that you could go through and create a draft of your plan for success through the workshop series. If for any reason that you did not get your workbook or you did not get access to the online course so that you could go through and create that plan that we've been talking about, you see my email down there below, tom@edge4vets.org. You can send me a note. And I know that possibly we've got some folks just joining us, hearing about the course and joining us for the first time. So happy to get you set up if that's the case for you. But for all those who have been working on their plan and either completed it or still working, I'm going to now give the baton over to Pamela. You've heard me talk about the unique strengths that you have, the values and skills. That's what we've talked about constantly in the Edge4Vets course. Well, Pamela is going to give you a special way to think about those values and skills that make you unique. And she's going to use a term from the marketplace called branding. So I'm going to ask Pamela to switch over to her screen now and take us through that part. And very exciting, Pamela, I'm very excited to hear from you as well today.
Thank you. Okay, so now, of course, we have the same problem we had before. Tom and I did it. We did a practice run through in
It's okay.
sharing.
We got it working. So we got
And
it with the tech, I know sometimes. So go ahead and just get your screen teed up.
I may have to have you. Here we go. Okay, got it. Yay! Fantastic. Okay. Let me get this on a slideshow. Here we go. Okay.
All set.
We did it. No need to panic. Okay. So thank you for your patience, everyone. And I'm really excited to be here, as I said, and to talk to you a bit about personal branding. I give this talk all the time to people in all different walks of life, recent college grads, people looking for jobs, all areas. So it's very applicable, I feel, for folks coming out of the military who are looking to sort of figure out what their brand is, because, the interesting thing is, we all have brands. It's just a matter of being able to articulate what that brand is, to think about how to best talk about your brand and who you want to brand yourself for and to. So let's get started. So the term personal branding actually has been around for a while, since 1997, coined by a guy named Tom Peters, who wrote a lot of business books back in the 90s and probably early 2000. And he wrote an article called The Brand Called You, which really sort of did a comparison. I think he talked about actually Coke and Pepsi, how they're both sodas, but they have, very different brands. If you were to conjure up like what Coke is all about, you probably have some thoughts about what that is versus what Pepsi is. Maybe you have different associations with both. So he said, if you can do that for brands, why shouldn't we be able to do that for people? And that's really what got started, how branding came to be. So I always like to start my presentation with this question. By the end of our talk today, if everyone can just walk away with this one thing, who am I and what makes me different than everyone else? So, all of you on this call today are people who served our country in the military, but you all have went into the military and have come out of the military with very different things, different values, different skills. I'm sure many of your values are shared from being in the service, but you have, things that you really feel aligned with the kinds of skills and the kinds of work you did in the military that really does make you different. So if you can articulate that, you're golden. If you can tell an employer who you are, what makes you unique, that's really what a personal brand is all about. Your Edge4Vets plan for success can brand you and give you that edge to get hired. So this is sort of that fifth, if we had a fifth ace to pull out of the deck, this would be your fifth ace, your knowing what your brand is. So what is your personal brand? Your brand defines who you are and what you stand for. So, in hearkening back to your Edge4Vets work, that's really about, what's your vision and what are your values? What do you want out of your life? Who are you really? Who are you in the most authentic part of yourself? What's important to you? That's really what your brand is. And your brand isn't for one particular job. As Tom said, right before I started speaking, this isn't about branding yourself for one job. It's branding yourself really for your life. It's, who are you? What are your core values? And this can go to many different careers. This is really, who you are in and out of the workplace. So I did this little collage here, word collage, to start people thinking about who they are, their values and their skills. What would, if you had to think about some words to describe yourself, what would those words be? Thinking about what your value, what words would you use to describe your values? What words would you use to describe your skills, maybe your leadership strengths, some of your technical skills, some of those intangible skills, those really important leadership skills? So I would, maybe take a couple of minutes and maybe jot some of those words down. These will help you in creating your action plan, your plan for success. Communicating who you are to hiring managers. So this, as I said, you can brand yourself for many different reasons. You can brand yourself for hiring managers. You can brand yourself to be a leader in your career, a thought leader, to get promoted if you're already working, to get promoted on your job. So you really want to think about, who you're branding yourself for. What do you want those people to know about you? And what are the key messages that you want to convey about yourself? And this really goes to your vision, values, and skills, all the work that you've done through the Edge4Vets worksheets. These are great ways to come out with those messages. When a hiring manager says to you, one of the questions, the first question when I'm working with my career coaching clients that I prepare my candidates for, tell me about yourself. There's no better way. If you know your brand, you are going to knock that question out of the park. You want to be able to, I like to have 3 bullet points that you can talk about that will really show a hiring manager who you are. It could be your loyalty. It could be your integrity. It could be your problem-solving skills. It could be a technical skill if you're applying for a job in, data management. It could be data management experience that you've gotten being in the military. Whatever those things are, these are the super important. What are those messages you want to convey about yourself? Know those so you can utilize those in job interviews, on your LinkedIn profile, in a resume. So the first thing you want to do to create your brand is by creating a great action statement. So, we talked about a couple of those key words that you would utilize to describe yourself. So, sort of keep those in mind as I'm taking you through this slide. So the factors that go into creating your personal brand include how you present yourself publicly. So everybody has a brand. Steve Jobs famously said, your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. So everyone has a brand. Whether you've thought you have a brand or you've never thought you had a brand, you definitely have a brand. So what is it that people would say about you when you leave the room? And what would you like them to say about you when you leave the room? So that is really what you want to think about in creating your brand and disseminating your brand. How you present yourself publicly. That's also, how you speak, maybe how you make eye contact, how you appear, what you're wearing on a job interview, your handshake when we get to be in person, your Zoom game when we're still doing Zoom interviews. That all goes into your brand as well. Those are the unspoken parts of your brand. Obviously I would always think about how we're going to talk, but what are those intangibles that you want to make sure also present yourself in the manner that you'd like to be perceived? What would you like your potential employers to think about when they think of you? Again, when you leave the room, what would you have liked them to thought? What would you like them to think about you? what would those keywords and phrases be that you would like them to have when they're thinking about you? And what's the key expertise that you want to convey? That goes into your skills and values, and really thinking about your skills and values. That helps you to convey that expertise. So I talked about, one question that I always have clients prepare are, tell me about yourself. And another question is, why should we hire you? Super important. So the why should we hire you really goes to this: what key expertise do you have that's going to help my company succeed, help my company's bottom line, help my company grow, help my company save money, help my company be innovative? What can you bring to the table? What expertise do you want to convey? So developing your action statement can help define all of this so that you know it and you can convey it to your potential employer. So these are some things to think about in crafting your action statements. You want to keep it simple. There should be 3 to 5 sentences long. We're going to show you an example from someone who's gone through the Edge4Vets program. You have your value statement, you have your skill statement, as Tom said in the video. You want to lay those two next to each other. And the combination of your value statement and your skill statement is what is going to get you to your action statement. And you want to ask yourself, as I said from the beginning, how do my military values and skills make me unique? That's really what you want to be able to articulate, both in writing and verbally. How do these values and skills make me unique and stand out? What do I have that no one else in this room has? What are those things? Maybe it's a variety of languages that you speak, some technical equipment that you know how to operate. Those combinations of the values and skills are what really makes you unique and what makes a potential employer want to hire you and certainly remember you. So what should you do in order to create your action statement? Write it out. My military values and skills set me apart because. How can I use my military values and skills to perform at a high level? And how can you use these values and skills to help the company? Again, the why should we hire you comes into play right here with this question. It's all about, how you can benefit the company with the fantastic values and skills you gained by your military service. So I'm going to turn this over now to Tom, who's going to take you through a sample action statement from Austin Timms, who went through the program, and Tom's going to take you through how he utilized his values and skills statements to create his action statement. Then I'm going to take it back to wrap up.
Wow, thank you, Pamela. Great stuff, and so much to unpack here. I'm going to ask you, go back a couple of slides, if you will, to the one you had up there about, I think it was, who am I? I'll show you. Keep going back. Next one. Yeah, hold on here. No, the
next.
Yeah, the next one. Here's because we'll go through them one at a time. But I want to key to this because you said a very important thing about branding when folks go into an interview. The impression that they leave in that interview is what the interviewer says about them after they were there. So to get that interviewer to be impressed with you enough after you were there to say, wow, this person really could do well for our company. Let's go back to while you are in there in the interview and preparation that you can do in advance of going into the room. And thinking in terms, as Pamela said, about branding yourself. We know you're unique. The military gave you strengths, values, and skills that have made you unique. But the key becomes how you're going to be able to, as Pamela says, communicate those to somebody who maybe has no military experience. And the point that Pamela was saying is, you know, the who am I question. It begins with your vision, getting clarity. And in the online course and in the Edge4Vets program, you know, you had a section called vision statement, where we asked you, you watched the video in the online course, and then you had a chance to articulate what kind of work do you want to do for the career and life that you want. That's the vision statement that is the step one in the who am I process. And I can tell you that, you know, we've heard from, you know, we've had, you know, 2,000 vets come through Edge4Vets so far. And I can tell you overwhelmingly in the vision statements that get created, and if this is true for you, be sure to nail this point, is that men and women went into the service to serve. So there's this whole component that you have built into you around service. And in your vision statement, if that's true for you, then what you want to communicate is that part of the kind of work that you're looking for is work that will allow you to contribute, so that you can take this core element of your personality, which is to serve, and put it into action for a company to be of service. And if that's true for you in your vision statement, remember Pamela said, who am I? If that is true for you as part of who you are, you want to be sure to articulate that in your vision statement, so that when you leave that interview, as Pamela said, and they talk about you after you were gone and evaluate, you know, how your interview went, that can stay in their mind. Wow, this is a person who wants to, you know, went into the service to serve and now wants to be able to contribute to our company. And that can be part of what brands you. Just nailing down Pamela's point on that. And then in terms of the values and the skills, stay on that same page, Pamela, because I want to nail down the values and skills as part of like this who am I part. The values that each branch espouses that you, as we say, inculcated, became such a strong part of you that now that you're out of the military, they are still your foundation for everything you do. If that's true, you want to go back and identify them. And, you know, we did this in the workshop. If, for example, integrity is, you know, a value espoused by each of the branches, if that's a strong part of you, if you developed it in the military and it's such a strong part of you, you want to be able to go into an interview, you know, on the who am I part. I am somebody who believes in integrity, and you can go in and tell a story about how when you were in the military, your motivation for doing things was, you know, to do the right thing even when nobody was looking, which is really the core of what integrity is about. If that's true for you, and I'm only repeating stuff that we've heard, you know, in the 10 years of doing Edge4Vets over and over. If that's true for you, as Pamela says, this is part of your brand. You want to nail it in your vision statement, and you want to go into an interview and talk about it. The same thing with the skills. Whatever you got good at, that, as Pamela said, made you unique. You want to identify what duties you had and what you got good at, and you want to talk about that from your perspective. As Pamela says, it's analysis. You know, if you had supply chain work and you kept meticulous records, these are all part of skills that you developed that transfer into the civilian sector, but you want to get them into your skills statement, and then you want to be able to express them in an interview. And then, as Pamela said, the final piece is your action statement. You have to be able to not only know what your values and skills are, lie them side by side, know what they are, but you got to be able to tell how you're going to put them into action and use them. And that's where the action statement comes in, where you're going to talk about how you can use them to perform at a high level, but then also be able to, by doing that, help the company succeed. So I was just sort of like unpacking some of the key points that you made, Pamela. And if you'll go now to an example of an action statement, scroll ahead to the statement that Austin created. And I'll give you this, folks, as an example. Just a little bit of background on Austin. Austin is was a soldier in Afghanistan who contacted us. Yeah, you see his picture there. He contacted me over Thanksgiving from half a world away. He found us on the internet, and he was leaving he had supply chain duties in Afghanistan. He was leaving the Army, and he wanted to get a dream job back in Minnesota, where he was heading home to. Could Edge4Vets help him get a job? So wonderful kid. We always love to reward proaction. So we gave the online course to Austin, who took the online course, and you see his action statement there, and I'll articulate some of the key points in it so they can be useful to you as well. But he created a wonderful plan for success, including a vision statement, a value statement, a skill statement, and then this wonderful action statement that, again, he did it from half a world away, but the beauty of online. And then he was able to do it. And then we shared it with his employer that he wanted to target in Minneapolis. Happened to be Boston Scientific that we had worked with at a point. So he got hired, and he just started his job with Boston Scientific in Minneapolis this spring. So an example of a success story, but largely because of, well, his initiative to reach out and do the preparation piece, which, my hat's off to all of you as well, because, you're all in the game as well as he is. But he just did such a wonderful, I thought, action statement that convinced that interviewer that this is a company that doesn't want to pass up on a talent like that, which we know all of you have as well. So let's go skip ahead to the detail on his action statement, if you will. The next slide. Yeah, I broke it out. I picked up the elements from that action statement that you saw earlier. And I just want to highlight, I don't know if you can see them, but I made bold a couple of things in his action statement that I wanted to share with you, because when you're creating your action statement, and if you've done one already and you want to go back to it and hone it, use some of what Austin did as a guide for yourself, because I thought he did a really good job. Notice how he says right up front, I developed strong values and skills in the Army. That's what your action statement, as Pamela says, you want to say, who am I? I am my values from the military and my skills. You're much more, but you have as your core that makes you unique, values that you developed and skills that you developed. And as you notice, what he went right to is, being loyal and a respectful leader. And that point about, respect really jumped out. And I know, talking to the HR folks that interviewed him, that jumped out for them as well, because it's this idea that, well, if he's respectful to his men and women that he's leading over there doing the supply chain work that he was doing in Afghanistan, well, he's going to be respectful then to coworkers here. And today, that's such a large part of getting a company to, covet you and want to bring you in. The idea, and again, these are things you developed in the military. So they're sitting there, but you got to be able to put them forward. And I think Austin did it really well. He's loyal, he's respectful. And then he gets down into his skills. You see there as an operations supervisor in that second bullet. I managed 35 personnel. So when you're writing your action statement, you want to quantify these things. That when I was in the military, no matter what branch you were in, you go to the job, the duties that you had, and what you got good at carrying them out. Well, he managed 35 people. And look at this. Many were older and more experienced than I. And again, that's the beauty. A lot of the times that, you're in the military, you're given enormous responsibilities at a young age. And if that's true for you, again, as Pamela said, these things are the things that brand you, that make you unique. If you were young when you got these duties put onto you, mention that, put that into your action statement. Because as you see further along there, he said, I was able to excel in this role by instilling a collaborative team environment. And I love that word, instilling. Something about him, and remember in Edge4Vets, we talked about, what's a strength? We talked about engagement, the ability to connect with people. Well, he went into that interview, we did his action statement as the basis for the interview, but then he went and he put it into, the interview itself, and he talked about how he was able to connect with people and he created a collaborative team environment. oh, this is great stuff that just, made him, soar ahead of of anybody else who was looking for that dream job that he was seeking. And now down there in the bottom, the last statement, I created a positive work environment that enabled others to be treated with respect and optimism when problems arose. And again, we talked about it in Edge4Vets. What's optimism? It's the ability to stay up when others are not. And if your experience from the military gave you that as a strength, that ability, no matter what situation you were in, you were able to keep yourself up. That's something that you want to put into your action statement and you want to be able to talk about in your interview. And then just the next page, Pamela, and then I'll bounce it back to you to close. But, and by the way, folks, I'll send you all of the participants today. Make sure that you go into the chat room and put your name and your email. I'll send you all a sample of Austin's action statement. He said we can use it so that you can see for yourself. But again, notice about, what distinguished him, as Pamela said, who am I? What did I do that distinguishes me? That's your brand. In his case, he talks about 60 projects that were valued at over $9 million that, he was responsible for to have done on time. I mean, all this is great stuff that I'm sure each of you has, as well. But again, your action statement is the ace of spades. This is where you do all of the work in advance, the vision, the kind of work I want to do for the career and the life I want, vision statement, value statement, the values that the branch inculcated that I adopted and now I carry over, skills statement, what duties I had that I got really good at. But the piece that is critical, as Pamela said, is how you're going to use them to show the interviewer that you can now bring these values and skills to the company. And look what he did. He talks about, being adaptable, talks about analyzing and scheduling product timelines. Maybe he was doing supply chain in Afghanistan, but the interviewer's hearing that story and immediately thinking, yeah, well, we have scheduling and timeline issues as well. This guy can do that there. He can do it here. And part of branding is knowing who am I, as Pamela said. It's like the values and skills you develop, and then just talk about how you can use them to help the company. So like I say, I'll send you all a sample of this and you can go through it yourself and apply it for yourself. But this is your action statement is I call it a cornerstone, but it's really your launching point then into your interview. Because this is the basis for being able to go in and talk about what you can bring to the company. So that just puts a cap, Pamela, on the great stuff that you laid out. And I'll bounce it back to you to do a close. And then, also we've got, I see in the chat room, some folks had their hand up and they had questions they wanted to ask of you. So we'll
Absolutely. Sure. So I wanted to just also say that I'm happy to share my PowerPoint as well, Tom. So if you want to send that out to folks who are here, I'm happy to share that as well. Someone had asked in the chat, so that's my pleasure as well. Yeah. Okay, so now that we went through Austin's fabulous action statement, and I'm sure that gave all of you ideas and actually gave me great ideas too. And then I realized one of them is actually on the slide. I mean, his, and Tom, the way you sort of separated out his action statement into bullet points is absolutely perfect to use on a resume. Each of those points would be great resume bullet points, for all of Austin's accomplishments. Each of those would make for, multitude of bullet points on a resume, as well as for his LinkedIn profile. So that's a terrific way to utilize the action statements that all of you have worked on. Cover letters, LinkedIn, resume, and of course, those talking points for job interviews, like I said, the three questions, as I said, and I'm just going to repeat because I think I gave you 2 out of the 3. So let me give you the third. The third question I always like my clients to be prepared for. So number 1, tell me about yourself. Sounds easy, probably the hardest question to answer because you want to give your answer in a minute or less, which is why having your branding statement, in 3 to 5 sentences is really important. So you can get out those sort of 3 bullet points for that one, tell me about yourself question. And you want to utilize that question to be as specific, that answer to be as specific as possible. As I say here, formulated into talking points. So some of those bullets on Austin's action plan would be the perfect answers for the tell me about yourself, where he's getting right to his leadership skills, how many people he led, what his leadership style was, how personable he was and how important for him it was that his team was felt happy and listened to and were well regarded. Those are all wonderful leadership and management qualities for him to get out in a job interview. So that's super. The second question, which I didn't mention, which is not really so much branding, but it's research. But I figure since I have you and we're in job search mode, let me just mention, why do you want to work for XYZ company? So for Austin, why do you want to work for Boston Scientific? That means Austin's going to need to research the heck out of Boston Scientific. What does Boston Scientific have? What's their mission statement? Because every company has one. What's their mission statement? How does Austin's mission statement and values line up with those of Boston Scientific? Why would that be a company where Austin would want to work? So that's, your job is to do that research, to come into every job interview knowing why you would be a good fit for that company and what you bring to the table specifically. Lastly, why should we hire you? Again, that to me is such a values answer. The kind of loyalty you have, the kind of integrity you have, how you always fulfill your obligations wherever you are, your duty. That's where folks coming out of the military, I think, excel in these job interviews because you know what it's like to care about your team and your teammates and to get stuff done and to problem solve. So those are things that are so valuable to your company. So, when they ask, why should we hire you? I would definitely say, lean into that for sure. Okay. So finally, we're going to do the last word on personal branding, and then we will have some time for questions. So, you all who've gone through the Edge4Vets training, the modules have done a lot of this, but sort of discover what is your brand, and that's your values, your vision, values, and skills really are what makes up your personal brand. Learn how to create and communicate that brand. That's your action statement. In creating your action statement, you are putting together those vision, the values and the skills to create your action and then communicate that action through your action statement, where we can utilize, as Tom did on Austin's, break those down into those bite-sized bullet points that are going to be so useful for you in job interviews, resume, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles. And then you want to maintain that brand. So now that Austin, for instance, we're using him as our example, is working at Boston Scientific, he's going to integrate that now into his skills and into his values. He's picked up new things along the way now that he's in the professional world and civilian workplace. So he's going to now integrate all of those into his LinkedIn profile, into his resume as well. So your brand always needs some care and feeding, I like to call it, to maintain. And finally, here is my contact information. I am always happy to have everyone connect with me on LinkedIn and reach out to me if you have any questions that don't get answered on this, on our Zoom today. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I know some folks had their hand up. If anybody has any questions for Pamela? I mean, obviously they can, you can unmute yourself if you do. I mean, obviously.
Pamela?
Yeah.
Hi.
Brian. Yeah, Brian had a question. Go ahead, Brian.
Hi,
Hey.
Brian.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the presentation. Really appreciate it. So I'm a little bit mid-career, so hopefully everybody can kind of pull some pieces out of what I say here, despite that, or if not, maybe learn from my school of hard knocks experience. So I went from the military where my values lined up really nice. Of course, I joined when I was 16, so it's not like I had a lot of room as a person to grow into a big rebel at that point. But I went from that to a company where, as it grew and as I grew, the brand and my brand and values and the brand and values there kind of diverged. And at the same time, I gained enough spotlight to feel kind of some of the pains you hear famous people talk about. If you've ever heard them talk, I was pretty shocked at how little shine it takes to kind of produce those shadows. As kind of an innocuous example, people who see your picture and they criticize like your hands in your pocket. So then you're like, oh gosh, in the picture, I have to go here or there, like all these kinds of things, right? Adds a bit of a layer of trauma to the job search around brand. But in particular, here in the Northeast, I'm trying to, because I moved from the New Mexico and I have a lot of experience working with technology people and out in Silicon Valley and up in the Northwest. And there's certain things here in the Northeast I would call kind of the yacht club culture, at least from the outside perspective of, you showed the pictures of everybody suited and booted, whereas that would scare the heck out of somebody if you walked into Silicon Valley with it. And so I'm just curious, as I'm trying to balance, there is some here, right? Like MIT is the birthplace of the hacker culture and that kind of playfulness. But do you have any thoughts about how to kind of balance the playful, kind of edgy part of your personality with the kind of person people can trust in a suit?
Right. I mean, I think that's actually, a great question. And it sort of brings me to a word that I wrote down while Tom was speaking that I didn't use. And I'm so glad you asked the question because it gives me the opportunity to use it. And that's authentic. Your brand you are authentically who you are. And it would be impossible to talk about personal branding without using the word authenticity. So, I think if you sort of look on people's, I think this is such a fun exercise anyway, look on people's, just sort of scroll through LinkedIn profiles and you can see people's profile pictures and not everyone is in a suit, and people have their own thing. And some people take a picture of themselves on a Harley, who are in, advertising, so I think it is authentic to who you are to show a bit of your personality. And I think that makes you stand out and makes you unique if it's authentic to who you are. Like now, if you're going for a job interview at Morgan Stanley, you're not going to walk in jeans and a t-shirt, right? So you have to sort of, I would say pick your spots, pick your, depending on what industry you're in, whatever is appropriate. But, you certainly, there's certainly room to express yourself in ways that still, I think, fall within the norms of whatever your career is. Does that make sense?
That's helpful. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, great.
Any other folks with questions? We're getting ready to wrap up. I mean, Pamela, thank you for putting your email up there. So if anybody does have a follow-up question for either you or for me, obviously they can reach out after.
Yeah, and Tom, I will send you a PDF of the presentation that you can send out to folks who are on the or on the call today.
And also, I'm happy to report that I got a note from a reporter in Minneapolis, the Star Tribune, who's going to do a story at Austin in
Oh,
month, and I'll send a link to that when it comes out, so
fantastic.
that Austin's leading the way, but we'll be happy to get stories done on all of you once that you are as successful as we know you can be. So let me just close, Pamela, by thanking you for taking the time and contributing your time to our effort to help our vets. As we say, this is in addition and an extra piece to the Edge4Vets program. The workshop series is the online course where they learn how to translate the strengths and then get connected. So we've done that process. Everybody had a chance to create a plan for success, take the online course. We had the connection workshop where we connected them to the HR reps at our partner companies. This is an extra thing that we're starting now to give you a chance to, as we say, hone your edge, to listen to an expert such as Pamela, nationally recognized in terms of coaching and branding, give you a chance to pull everything that you pull it together, everything that you learned in the Edge4Vets program. And so let me just say, if you have any questions, do let us know. But just closing on that note about authenticity, Pamela, let me just say that when you get asked, and as Pamela said, you will be asked in the interview, tell me about yourself. What we suggest for you is that you say, well, can I tell you about the values and the skills that I developed? And you see them right there in the screen. They're right there. The values and skills are what companies are looking for. They call them the leadership strengths. We call them the values and skills. And if they say, that interviewer says, yes, sure, tell me about yourself. And you say, can I tell you about the values and skills? And they say, yes, that opens the door. Go right into your value statement that you created, your skills statement, and then go to your action plan that Pamela helped you develop today to tell how you're going to use them to help the company. So thank you, Pamela, for everything that you did for us today. And we'll get this link to this video out to everybody so you can watch it as a refresher. And if you have any questions for us, please let us know. So thank you, Pamela.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Tom, always great to work with you. So thank you for all that you've done and continue to do.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us and being part of this today. And like I say, you've got our contact information so we can keep the conversation going. And we look forward to promoting you and telling the world about you when you have success and get that job that can lead to the career for the life that you want. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.